right, good morning. Thank you all so much for being here today and taking time out of your schedule. We're going to go ahead and call today's regular commission meeting to order, and we always start these off by prayer. I didn't happen to see that Pastor Johnson had made it in yet today, so I've asked Commissioner Cole if he'll lead us in today's prayer, and then we'll have Commissioner Salter lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will, just join us with a word of prayer.
Oh, please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before you, Lord, we just ask you for your blessing on this meeting. We ask you for a blessing on our county and our whole country, Lord. Lord, ask your blessing on those that protect us daily and those that have lost their lives in protection of us. Lord, we just thank you for the honor of serving the citizens of Santa Rosa County, and we ask that you remind us, Lord, that we're all simply stewards of that you've allowed us to have stewardship of. We ask you now to go with us in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.
All right, thank you all so much. Thank you, Commissioners, for helping with that. First item today is the approval of the minutes for the March 28th and the April 11th, 2019 meetings. I would ask if there are any changes that need to be made to the minutes. Hearing none, we will approve those minutes. Next will be the approval of the agenda. Are there any commissioners or staff that need to make any modifications to today's agenda?
So I just wanted to point out there is one additional item that we did not discuss on Monday. It's on the regular agenda. It's an event in Navarre Marine Park. It's scheduled for May 10th. We just received that application after Monday's meeting. There's nothing contentious there, and so I thought we could approve that today. The second thing I would have, we have a speaker form submitted on consent agenda item on the admin committee. It's number 5. There's a speaker, so if we could move admin number 5 from the consent to the regular agenda, since we have a speaker's form.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shannon Ogletree, myself, and Steve Rhodes had the opportunity to visit with one of our prospective clients in the industrial park at a ribbon cutting for a facility that they just opened, and very impressive facility, very impressive company. They continue to work along with Santa Rosa County for more consideration of putting an area, a similar area here. So after meeting with them, I'm very enthused about the conversation that we had. It would equate out to 300 to 400 jobs for citizens of Santa Rosa County. So I want to thank Steve and Shannon for inviting me to come with them, and those folks for being gracious hosts. And other than that, there are nothing else I have.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else have anything to add? All right, we're going to go ahead and approve today's agenda. First, this is an exciting day. It's always, it is nice when you get to take some moments to recognize, especially not only the great things that folks are doing in our community, but the great people that we have the opportunity to share this community with. So we have a few proclamations and then a presentation to make today. Our first proclamation is for the National Day of Prayer, and I've asked Commissioner Lynchard to read that into the record for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that we do every year, and culminates in the National Day of Prayer. There's a governmental prayer breakfast that's put on every year that is well done and well attended. So I appreciate and thank all those who were involved in putting all of these events together. County of Santa Rosa Proclamation. Whereas America was founded on the principles of religious faith and freedom, and throughout the history of our state and nation, we have humbly prayed for guidance and comfort where needed, and have given thanks for the many blessings graciously bestowed by God on this nation since its inception. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is an annual event established by an act of Congress which encourages Americans to pray for our nation, its people, and its leaders. And whereas the National Day of Prayer Task Force concentrates on the need to pray for those in leadership on all levels of national, church, and educational areas of influence. And whereas days of prayer have been called for since 1775, when the Continental Congress designated a time for prayer in forming a new nation. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln called for such a day. Officially, the National Day of Prayer was established as an annual event by an act of Congress in 1952 and was signed into law by President Harry Truman. The law was amended in 1988 and signed by President Ronald Reagan, establishing the National Day of Prayer as the first Thursday of May each year. And whereas the National Day of Prayer, as mandated by our government, belongs to all Americans, is not sponsored or owned by any one group, and every American can observe the day of prayer in his or her own way. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Santa Rosa County Board of Commissioners that Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, be observed as the National Day of Prayer in Santa Rosa County, and all citizens are encouraged to participate. Passed and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Rosa County this 25th day of April 2019. Do we have
Thank
any
you, Mr.
representatives here? Do we have any representatives here from the National Day of Prayer who would like to speak? Good morning, Chuck.
I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you for that proclamation. I do so in the name of William Wright, our pastor of Bible Way Baptist Church, who hosts this year's event. And I do want to remind everybody that there will be a gathering on the courthouse lawn on that particular day, the first Thursday of next month. And I want to thank this commission for what they do. You don't have to watch the news too long to know that Santa Rosa County is a blessed county. Not all of the commissions of the various counties work quite as harmoniously as you do and get as much done. And I really do want to thank you for that, knowing that all government is authorized by God, as we read in the authorized version of the Bible. And so you have a double-edged sword hanging over you. You represent the people, and you're answerable to them. But more importantly, you're answerable to God, to the Creator. And I thank you for doing that job, and I really appreciate you, and I'm honored to stand here today to accept that proclamation.
Thank you. Will you come up and have a picture made, please?
All right. Next, we have the opportunity, we're going to have Commissioner Cole read the proclamation, and this is, I will say, I know it is always great to see our former sheriff in the House, and as many of you know, I had the pleasure to get to work under two sheriffs and wear that uniform for almost 10 years, and I can tell you that I've personally seen the impact that organizations like the Kids House make for folks sometimes in their darkest hour. So it is with that, I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Cole, and he's going to present the proclamation for the Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker, and it's certainly a privilege to read this proclamation this morning. I think Commissioner Parker elected me to do this because I got the most grandchildren of anybody on the board. So, and having said that, you know, I find it hard. I'm looking forward to the day we don't need a Kids House because child abuse has been taken care of and done, but I find it in my heart very hard to understand how anybody can harm a child. It just, all right. So the proclamation. Whereas Santa Rosa County's future depends on the nurturing and the healthy development of our children currently living, growing, and learning within our communities. And whereas research shows that safe and nurturing relationships and stimulating and stable environments improve brain development and a child's well-being. While neglectful or abusive experiences and unstable or stressful environments increase the odds of poor childhood outcomes, whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems affecting all of society, including physical and mental health problems, school failure, and criminal behavior. And whereas individuals, businesses, schools, and faith-based and organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas during the month of April, the Santa Rosa Kids House, along with public and private sector agencies, child care professionals, child advocates, and residents will be increasing public awareness of child abuse prevention, healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families need in this community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Santa Rosa County Board of Commissioners do hereby call upon all citizens to observe the month of April 2019 as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month in Santa Rosa County, and to increase their participation in the effort to prevent child abuse and neglect, hereby strengthening the community we live in for now and for future generations. It's passed and adopted by this board on today's date and signed by our chairman, Sam Parker. Thank you. Who do we have? And I just thought I seen Wendell and some folks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We will absolutely yield the floor to you, and then I know we're going to get an exciting opportunity for a photograph with at least one cat that's looking pretty cool today. So I know we're this is sort of a two-part presentation, but thank you.
We'd like to borrow two more of our board members, Roy
Yeah,
and Mark.
bring them on down there.
I know they work for y'all, but what they do for us is a lot more important.
You might even get more work out of them than we do.
Especially Roy, he's our pro bono attorney, so we love him.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you for having us this morning. We really appreciate it, and I think it's very befitting that we are following the National Day of Prayer. We all need prayer doing what we're doing, and we really appreciate all the prayer that all of the county offers us. As said before, child abuse is a horrible, horrible disease that is actually all over our community and every community. 1 in 5 children are abused before they turn the age of 18. And last year, Santa Rosa Kids House served 1,200 kids in our building. And those have moved on to prosecution, moved on to different avenues, and we've helped every one of them with therapy, for free therapy, because they need it after what they've been through. 5 children die every day in the United States from child abuse. We do our best to prevent it, obviously. That's why we try to make child abuse awareness in April, to help everybody. But I think you should know that 47% of the perpetrators are parents. And unfortunately, a lot of times they do it on purpose, and a lot of times they don't. They just need education and learn how to take care of their kids and teach them the right way. And the numbers that I just gave you, they don't include the children who are victimized on the internet. And the reason is because many times we can't identify those victims. There are tons and tons of victims that we can't identify, but we work with FDLE and the FBI to try to help these children. It's important to also to know that more than half of those children are under the age of 6. They're the most vulnerable, and teachers tend to notice things more and report it more. But thanks to the organization Santa Rosa Kids House, survivors of child abuse are able to go on and lead productive lives. And as you said in the proclamation, child abuse causes so many things, from mental anguish and that kind of thing to leading a life of crime when they grow up and sometimes end up perpetrating themselves. So it's important that the Kids House is here to help every one of these children and to get into the schools and teach them that if you've been abused, come tell us about it and we'll do all we can to help. I brought some board members with me today who support us very much, and when I say that, every single one of them are volunteers. They don't get paid to do this. They do this out of the kindness of their heart. And if you don't mind, I'd like them to introduce themselves.
Absolutely. Good-looking group. Look at y'all getting on time with us.
Michelle Tucker, I'm from Navarre. Hi, Kathy Batterton, Gulf Breeze.
Sandy Park O'Hara, Milton.
Michael Thorpe, Milton.
Aaron Erskine, Milton.
Roy Andrews, this is my day job.
Mark Murray Pace.
And the last two ladies are victim advocates at the Santa Rosa Kids House, and they work one-on-one with the children from the time they walk in the door until the end of their prosecution. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Jody Ennis, Milton.
Kelly Sanders.
So thank you for having us. We really appreciate you helping us to get the word out and to let everybody in the county know that we're here for the children. And we really appreciate Cat Country also. We are a 501c3, so we literally have to raise every dollar that we have to help these children. So we want to thank you.
Thank you. And I think we have our now I guess you'd say nationally proclaimed award-winning Brent Lane. Probably the resume is so big I can't even read it now. But I think we have Brent and Dave and some of his team here. If you want to come and give your presentation, and then we're all going to get to come down there and take a photograph with y'all today.
Let me say a couple of words about this organization, about Cat Country. A couple of years ago, Brent came to me and said they were thinking about having a music fest down in Navarre, and he wanted us involved, and they were going to make us the recipients of the money that they raised on this event. We didn't go to them, they came to us. And realizing what an important part that the advocacy centers play not only in Escambia County and all counties that have them, but especially Santa Rosa. So we can't say thank you enough to Brent and Dave and Miss Mary for the continuous support that they give us, not only on their radio shows, anything that we have that we need to get the word out, they're there for us. But to go and put this event on and do what it takes to make this happen, and it's getting more and more successful each year. And it's just a good time, a good concert. They put a lot of effort in it to bring the right artists to the Navarre area. So we can't say thank you enough on behalf of the Kids House and the board. Of course, the Cat Country and Brent Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, Brent.
Good morning, you guys. Thank you so much for letting me come back. A year ago, we had the opportunity to stand in front of you and talk about our very first Spring Jam event. And this is year number 2. And if you have just a minute, I'd like to direct your attention to the presentation. You have it in front of you, Commissioners. This year's Spring Jam event for year number 2 was an incredible job. There we go. We brought on our friends at Gulf Winds to help be a presenting sponsor, and of course Juana's Pagodas and Sailor's Grill. It was our location, and Kevin and Danielle and their team is invaluable in making this happen. And I want to give you a peek at what this year ended up looking like. Because it ended up being a beautiful day. I'm going to guess the jerkiness of this video will be a little bit smoothed out when I post it online immediately following the presentation. Chloe Chanel and Billy Dean were a part of the show. Chloe Chanel, of course, from Pace, and came out, had made American Idol, turned out to be our surprise guest this year, and you'd have thought she was the megastar at the meet and greet. We had a ton of people who were excited to come and see her. Of course, the weather's always fantastic. We had a band named Everett, who we are one of the few stations that have played Everett and kind of helped launch their career, who were part of our opening act this year. And those guys are a lot of fun. We also had the opportunity, of course, to welcome an up-and-coming guy who a year ago played at Flounders for 50 people, and this time to come back for a beach show that had a sold-out crowd of 3,000 people in Jimmy Allen. And a guy who has a 4-year-old son and grew up in his car. They actually did this as a full band show when they didn't have to. So they were dedicated to the event, and just can't thank you enough. Backstage, having a conversation with them about what the mission of the Santa Rosa Kids House was, it meant a lot to him that we were able to do this, and obviously that our community has this resource and the ability to do this. And Michael Ray, who came out and performed this, we had booked him a year ago before the show, and his fiance's parents live in Fairhope, so they came over. Carly Pierce is his fiance, and she made a special appearance for this event as well, which I thought was kind of cool. I want to direct your attention to those that invested in our community here in Santa Rosa County. Again, thanks to Gulf Winds, who is represented here today. Blue Chair Bay, FDOT brought in a major sponsorship. Once again, Resort Quest took care of all of our artists' accommodations. Peatmore Chevrolet. Santa Rosa Medical Center came in this year, and I think that they are possibly in the building as well. Thank you very much for being here as well. Fishbein Orthodontics is a second-year sponsor. Pensacola Motorsports came out this year, as well as Culver's and the Beacon, all helping to make this show. Now, the difference, because of these people, and again, we couldn't do this without Juana's, who handles all of the logistics of this show. It would be impossible to pull this off without their contribution. But because of the sponsorship, we were able to cover the entire cost of the show this year. And that becomes pretty significant as we move down the way, because we were able to take 100% of the proceeds. Everybody who bought a ticket and came to this show, it all went towards Santa Rosa Kids House. So you can see we had a lot of people having a lot of fun. Navarre Beach got a lot of credit for this, and they came back in with TDC money again this year, so thank you. We feel like we helped drive $171,000 in promotional value to Santa Rosa County and ultimately into Navarre Beach into this show. On stage, we announced that Santa Rosa Kids House we'd raised over $25,000 with this event.
But wait!
There's more. Commissioners, it is my privilege to have the CAT come up and to share with you guys this year that while I know you had some funding struggles with some issues earlier this year, last year we raised $14,833. We more than doubled that this year. Commissioners, for Santa Rosa Kids House, we raised $30,710 for the Santa Rosa Kids House. So on behalf of Cat Country 98.7, Juana's Pagodas, and all of our sponsors, we are very grateful for the opportunity to be your hometown radio station. We thank you for this opportunity, and to our Santa Rosa Kids House, we love your mission. We love what you do for our kids. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. I would definitely like Juana's to come up and join us for our class photo. Kevin and his team, again, I cannot stress enough, impossible to do this event without Kevin and Danielle and the whole team at Juana's Pagodas. Yeah, we're going to do it over here. And right here, right next to you.
Come on in. Huddle up here. Probably need to
Mr. Chairman, if I might, before everybody gets out of here, I'd just like to say something about Dave. Before I became commissioner, Dave and I went with Admiral Fetterman and another, I think Don was on that trip, group of people from the two combined chambers of commerce to Washington, D.C. And I remember it very vividly as we rode the bus to the Pentagon, because at that time Admiral Fetterman got us into the Pentagon for a briefing with the Navy. And Dave was talking to me, and I said, well, Dave, I'm thinking about running for county commission. And Dave says, well, I'm thinking about opening a radio station. So Dave, I think yeah, there we are. So, and I think just a moment ago when Dave yelled out, and there's more, I think that's about the loudest I've ever heard Dave get. But Dave, thank you very much for all you do to the community, for the community and stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I'm sure we'll give y'all just a moment if I know some of y'all are wanting to clear out. I heard Dave say you had to go back to work. Shame on him. So, oh, okay. All right. Well, this, yeah, man, I tell you what, it's like you can't get any more excited about one other than one more than the other. But I will get to say, I know that I have the privilege to get to know several folks from the Blackwater Pirates organization from their day job, and get to work alongside the members in the community. But I will say, I'm not even sure if we have a member from the Press Gazette here today, but really how this got started as far as for the board to be able to recognize y'all, I think purely comes from we also are appreciative of the Press Gazette and them highlighting the hard work that y'all had done. And again, I know this is nothing new. I will read this here in a moment. Y'all have been hard at this for many years. It just seemed very fitting that our board collectively wanted to tell you how much we appreciate you and our community. So today we have the opportunity, and I have the privilege as chairman to be the one to present to you a certificate of special recognition. And this certificate of special recognition is presented to the Blackwater Pirates for their community activities performed throughout the year, including river cleanup, boater safety education, and maritime preservation. This year's 13th annual river cleanup resulted in the collection of almost 2,000 pounds of trash, with over 50 volunteers being involved that day. And I think it's worth saying again, this was the 13th annual cleanup. And again, folks, I know none of you do this for recognition. You do it out of the good of your heart. I have absolutely no doubt of that. But I thought, the significance of that. I think 15 vessels and over 50 volunteers and nearly a ton of trash out of our waterways and basin. As we talk about the efforts to try to improve not only our environment, but I'm going to tell you as a dad of young kids, these are the kind of folks that I want my kids to see and role model after, to say, hey, we maybe they won't get to dress like that when they go to school. But those are the kind of folks that, truly, you're not out there doing it for publicity or any other reason, but you're doing it to make our community better. And for that, I know our board is very honored to be able to present this, but also we're truly indebted to you, our community is, for what you do day in and day out throughout the year, and you have been doing. And so with that, I will open it. I know some of my fellow commissioners may have a word to say, and then we want to come down there and get a photo with y'all and present you with this presentation. But again, I just tell you from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for the board collectively, we are so thankful for the hard work that the Blackwater Pirates does, especially with the cleanup on the river and our other water basins so much. And so thank you, and we're honored for that. Do we have any other members of the board? I think even, Bob, are you a Blackwater Pirate? I thought so. And the reason I know Donnie down there is because I don't know, and I may catch him today for the first time in almost 3 years, I don't know that our clerk, Donnie Spencer, has ever come to a meeting without his Blackwater Pirates thermos. And so this may be the first, I don't know, I'm calling him out, but I think, does he have it? There you go. And so I want you to know you have obviously recruited some of the top folks in the community to be able to be there with you and in your journey. So without that, we're going to come down there, and do we have anybody here that would like to get up and say a word? Please, absolutely. And we'll take even more than one of you if you'd like to come up and let us know anything about the organization, because again, we're truly indebted to you.
I think this is on, yes? Sam, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. The Blackwater Pirates, this is our 13th year, and real briefly, we have a 3-tiered mission statement: maritime history, which we try to support with lectures and grants to UWF grad students. We have boater cleanup, which is obviously just getting out on the river and picking up trash, and boater safety, which, by the way, coming up, we're going to have a boater safety check at Carpenter's Park Boat Ramp and Rosa Harbor. So those are our 3-tiered statements. We obviously have the annual Milltown Duck Race on the 4th of July. Ducks are currently available for adoption, by the way, $5 a piece. Some of the, in true pirate fashion, I probably should have had a prepared statement, but I did not. I was reminded to mention that we have noticed over the years that the quantity of trash that we've gotten on the lower river has lessened. And I certainly hope that that us being out there doing the cleanup has prompted others to notice how clean these sandbars, and they're gorgeous sandbars, by the way, have prompted them to simply take your trash home. It's not rocket science. So we do this twice a year. We'll do an upriver in the fall, and it's a lot of fun. Some of the events that we do have coming up, we are a co-sponsor of a poker run, which is this Saturday. It'll be out on the Blackwater River. The theme this year is wrecks. We're going to, I believe we have 7 wrecks on the river we're going to be addressing, and we do have, like I said, the boater safety coming up on the 18th of May. That will be, also we'll have a blessing of the fleet. Monsignor Reed from the Catholic Church will be blessing the fleet on that day also. So without further ado, I want to bring up Big Al. Big Al is the, she's the one that put it all together. This was her first Lower River cleanup, so she did an outstanding job. It's okay, if you don't want to speak, it's okay, but you can. No? But I do have a great crew. This is just a small portion of them, and we couldn't do this. I can't do it alone, but everyone does a little piece of it. And would you like to say something?
Other than I deserve no credit for any of this. This has been ongoing for 13 years, and I simply filled over for those who have done it for the last 12. So it is a group effort, and it's not an individual effort. So.
Thank you, Big Al. Great job. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? I was asked to mention the prize money for the duck race, and the first place is $1,500. For $1,500. Pirate Rum Front.
Morning, everyone. As a founding member of the Pirates, I couldn't be more proud. And I'm also proud of the participation that I see at this meeting from the people, the community, general community. We're very fortunate, very fortunate. And you foster that relationship. You need to be thanked for that. Well, in the Pirates, I'm known as Rum Front, but in the Baghdad Waterfronts, I'm Doug Lassiter. I have dual citizenship, as a lot of the Pirates have as well. So this afternoon, I wanted to take this opportunity because the Pirates are a co-sponsor on this. The Waterfronts Partnership has worked on a Baghdad Maritime Historic Trail. It's a virtual trail we can access from the web, and we've got many, many partners in that. Well, one of the parts of that project is an educational kiosk, and we're dedicating the 4 of them in Santa Rosa County and the city of Milton this afternoon at 3 o'clock at Carpenter's Park at the boat landing. These educational kiosks are 3-sided. One side said, "You are here," with the Maritime Trail shown in the background. The other side is the flora and fauna of our river basin in this area. And the other side has a thumbnail sketch of the history of the Blackwater River. So the Pirates are an integral part of that. They are paying for part of that. The TDC paid for a lot of it. Waterfronts paid for it. FPAN was heavily involved. Your staff here at Santa Rosa County was instrumental in getting this done. So also the park project in general, the Pirates have funded a lot of that. So the organizations work closely together. It's no coincidence that our mission statements are virtually identical. So I wanted to invite you to that. And then again, the poker run, and we have the sign-up sheets and the posters. And our leader of that, Lucky, or commonly known as Larry at home, he is the head of that for the Waterfronts. Waterfronts is the lead agency sponsoring it, and of course the Pirates are co-sponsors, so we highly encourage you to participate in that. The monies that come from that go back into the Maritime Trail Project on the river. Thank you.
Thank you for all those updates.
Thank you, Sam.
Yes, sir. We're Commissioner Cole, and then we've got a few comments, I think, from board members, and then we're going to come down there and get probably our most diverse photograph with the most diverse dress that we've had the opportunity this year, so I'm excited about that. Commissioner Cole.
Mr. Chairman, I also am a pirate, known as Cutter. Sheila is Mad Mary Reed, which fits her well. We are honored to be lifetime honorary members of the Pirates and founding members along with Doug. And it's hard to believe this started out with just a handful of guys that found out that the county, the Coast Guard, EPA, nobody would take responsibility for derelict vessels, especially small P-rows and, boats like that along our river. So, we took it on ourselves to get together on Saturday mornings with whatever boats we had, duct tape, pieces of plywood, screws, however we could drag a boat out of the woods, off a bank. One was a 15-foot-long boat that burnt to the water line just north of the shell pile. And once we got them out of the river, we tried to figure out how to dispose of them. So back then, there was this commissioner that we decided we'd drag them up on public boat ramps and call Avis Whitfield Monday morning and say, well, some scallywag left an abandoned boat up on our boat ramps, and we need to get it off of there. Well, that evolved to something that the county agreed to do without the underlying little white lie that was told, I guess, about getting them off the ramp. So I've enjoyed my membership. It's hard to believe it's developed to where it is. Doug, I want to thank you personally for all the work you've helped me with on the Baghdad Millsite Park and with river cleanup and everything we've done in Baghdad together. It's been a privilege to serve and a privilege to be a Blackwater pirate. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Salter.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo everything that Commissioner Cole and you said. We appreciate everything y'all have done and will do in the future. I remember when y'all first got organized and talking about ducks. My Shamuckla duck has never won that race. Somehow that my Shamuckla duck always ends up outside the boundaries and y'all disqualify him. But I'll keep him in the race. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
All right, with that, I think we're going to come down there and, yes, absolutely.
I know.
You got a sword, how can I say that?
Yeah, right, yeah. A real one, too. I glanced at your agenda today, and I noticed that later today you'll be voting on tipping fees for Clean and Green. They were instrumental in providing a dumpster for us, so I'd like to encourage you to vote yes on that. Kevin Smith, I believe, is in charge of that, and he's always been very helpful to us, not only with the dumpster, but bags, gloves, grabbers. He's helped us a lot, so I encourage you to pass that, if you would, please.
Thank you. All right, we're going to come down there and get all the pirates to come up here. All right. That is absolutely an exciting way to start the meeting off. We have a 9:30 public hearing. I know we're a few minutes behind on that, but we will go ahead and have that hearing as required. This is for the proposed vacation of a portion of Cedar Tree Drive as requested by Annette and Terrence Lanigan. Do we have anyone here for this today to speak on behalf of this vacation of the portion of Cedar Street? Hey, good morning. How are you? Hit the little button. Just hit the little button and then let Amanda
Okay.
know. Just name and address for the record. Thank you.
It's Carla Highnote, 3104 Cobbtown Road, Jay, Florida. And we're looking, actually, it's a portion along Country Club Road at the corner of Country Club and Cedar Tree Drive. It's a small piece of land. I talked to Mr. Furman about this a while back when Mr. Walther, who's the gentleman that actually purchased the property, and we just kind of looked at the map and wondered why there was a little jot out there, and we could find no reason for that jot out being there, so we decided to go with the vacate on that road to clean up the corner.
Thank you, Carla. Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty clear here in the survey. I'm guessing it probably was there back when they first constructed the road or something. I think this is in Commissioner Cole's district, and so I will turn it over to Commissioner Cole for the recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if Public Works doesn't have any objection to this, then I'd move it without objection.
All right, hearing no objection, we will approve the vacation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. All right, so that will conclude the public hearing. That moves us to the consent agenda. And from what I was told, the consent agenda as published, other than number 5 under the engineer's report.
Under admin.
Sorry, under the admin. Make sure I bubble in the right place. So the consent agenda as published, other than number 5 on the admin committee, which will move to the regular agenda, I would ask if any members of the public or any of my fellow commissioners have any comments or objections to moving the consent agenda as published other than number 5. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. That takes us to the regular agenda. We have no items under Economic Development Committee, and under the Administrative Committee, we also have item number 1, and then we'll add 5 down here. Item number 1 is an event request, and this is a request from Hootie and the Top 4 and Owl Wild Wings to utilize the parking area by Navarre Beach Pavilions, Starfish, Mackerel, Pelican, and Red Drum for car show scheduled for May 10th, 2019 from 7:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Do we have any members of the public here to speak on this? Seeing none, I will, this is in Commissioner Peach's district, I believe, so I'll defer to Commissioner Peach.
Seeing no objection or no discussions, I'd recommend we approve this without objection.
All right, hearing no objection, the item is approved. You can tell by when I read that I had not rehearsed. Item number 2 is the Judicial Center update, and this is a informational-only update. I believe our County Administrator, Mr. Shevler, is going to lead us in this, so we're excited about that. Dan?
Yes, sir. I just want to give the board an update. The third and final workshop that the design build team has put together is completing today. We have established an executive steering committee of all the stakeholders, the sheriff's office, the state attorney's office, public defender, the clerk's office, the county, and of course the courts are represented by our local court administrator as well as the district court administrator. It's been a very productive effort. I think our design build team has held true to what they presented to you in the interviews, that they've hit the ground running. They've taken what has been done and are validating and verifying. Right now, the courthouse programming has it at approximately 109,000 square feet. There'll be some tweaks to that and some rearranging, but the test fit works. We're looking at a 3-story courthouse at this point in time. The master site planning is going on. In addition to the work for the courthouse, the second building, they've done some programming space for that. That's approximately 50,000 square feet, and that would be state attorney's office, public defender's, guardian ad litem, probation, that sort of functionality, which would be in a future addition. And there are still a couple questions. They've had a pre-application meeting with our development services, so they're working through the process. There will be an FDOT meeting coming up. They've done some traffic counts. They have a traffic firm on board that's working that. I think we're making good progress. The next thing we will bring, the Executive Steering Committee will meet in the middle of May, and we'll have a master site plan to present to the Board of County Commissioners on May 20th, seeking your approval at the regular meeting on the 23rd. After that, in June, at our June meeting, we'll have a concept and schematic sort of look to the courthouse and seek approval to go into the full design development at that point in time in June. Because of the contract negotiations and our schedule in June, there is about a 3-week slide in the schedule from what was presented at the selection, but I don't think that's significant, and hopefully something we can make up in the construction phase. We're still tracking towards a groundbreaking later this summer, and then site work to start hopefully by the end of the year based on the current plan. The project is within budget as currently projected, and I think going quite well. So I think I want to thank the members of the Executive Steering Committee. There is a good attitude of compromise. Everybody knows that they're not going to get everything that they want, but that they are going to get a new courthouse. And so I think that approach and attitude has been very helpful through these workshops, and I expect that to continue through the project's execution.
Thank you, Dan. I know not only do we appreciate the update, but I know many members of the citizens of this county appreciate the update, and I will echo everything you've said. I know with Mr. Spencer and Mr. Bill Eddins and some of the other folks that have been involved in that, it has seen nothing but positive outlook from the interactions I've had with them about this. So thank you very much for that update, and we look forward to it. Next, we'll move on to approval of the May meeting list, or a portion of it here is published in the agenda. Do any commissioners have any problems with the published dates here for the meeting lists that cover between May 2nd and May 9th?
Just to point out, sir, we'll be in Tiger Point May 9th for the regular meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. And that May 6th meeting, is that in Tiger Point as well?
That'll be here.
Okay, all right. Thank you for reminding us of that. I always enjoy going down there to Commissioner Lynchard's homestead there. All right, we will go ahead and approve the meeting list. Next is item number 5. Dan, do we have any further discussion on it?
Mr. Rigby signed up to speak on that. I just wanted to give him the opportunity to speak.
All right, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Let's see the button to push here. Thank you. I'm here today because some of the comments that were made, I'm sorry.
If you will, just so Amanda can get it for the minutes, just let her know your
I'm
title
sorry.
and firm
I'm sorry.
you're with. Thank you.
Jesse Rigby, and I'm from the law firm of Clark Partington in Pensacola. I represent Blue Water Holdings, SRC, Inc. I'm here because of some of the comments that were made during your meeting on Monday. I'm not here today to try to change your mind about your decision concerning purchasing of the property. A comment was made on Monday that it's amazing that my client sought so hard to get the permit and now wants to sell it back to the county. Frankly, my client does not particularly want to sell the property to the county, but was asked to give the county an opportunity to buy the property to prevent its use as a landfill. My client agreed to make an offer. Why wasn't I here on Monday? I wasn't here on Monday because there was simply no reason to be here to get into a discussion about the offer itself. This is, though, not the first time that there has been a discussion of a potential sale of this property. Commissioner Lynchard was at a mediation in, I believe it was in 2015. That mediation accomplished nothing, but my client was then encouraged to present an offer to the county after that. And my client did so and presented an offer in 2016 to sell the property for $5.5 million. That offer was considered at a public meeting in June 2016 by the commission without any discussion whatsoever and was simply rejected. Why was the offer to sell in 2016 less than it is today? Well, first of all, at that time, my client was going to have to renew and obtain a new state 5-year permit. And in addition, my client did not have the county permit. There was considerable litigation risk at that time as the lawsuit was ongoing. So far as I know, the county has always had the opportunity to go out and obtain its own appraisal and determine what it thought the property's fair market value would be as a landfill. To the best of my knowledge, since this started in late 2013, the county has never done so and has never retained an appraiser to appraise the property. So to say that the county, that this commission has not been given the time to fairly consider an offer to sell the property is simply not a fair characterization of the historical facts. The only expression that I know of from this commission as to its belief of the value of the property was a statement by Commissioner Parker in September 2017 when the county permit was approved. And as I was there at the meeting, of course, and reviewed the video, Commissioner Parker advised the public at that meeting that he was going to vote to grant the permit, the county permit, because he had been told that the county could be forced to pay $8 million. It might have been 8 to 10, but more than $8 million for the property. That lawsuit at that time was for compensation for the taking of the property. In other words, for the value of the property that we alleged was taken by the county. So what's changed between 2016 and June when the county rejected the last offer and today? First of all, my client has the new 5-year state permit after several months of additional work and effort. My client has the county permit. My client's litigation risk is now very, very minimal. It has a fully permitted facility that has long-term value and which is very marketable. There is no extortion. There has never been any extortion. I've practiced law since May of 1978. I've never been directly or implicitly accused of extortion. My client has never believed that a properly operated C&D landfill will pollute the aquifer. I appeared before this commission back in 2013, not for this client, but when you were going through the well field protection ordinance. There was a whole lot of fear-mongering. And there's a substantial difference between a lined and an unlined landfill. I think we recognize that. But it's this commission's decision to make those policy decisions about well field protection ordinances. No one questions that. But I believe the commission probably made some decisions at that time that might not have been necessary if there had not been all the public fear-mongering going on. I was pleased to hear Commissioner Lynchard's statements on Monday that he now accepts the fact that the landfill permit has substantial protection to protect the public. I have always believed that. However, the exact same facts as exist today with the state and the county permit existed in February 2013. Nothing has changed. Same design, same landfill, same lined facility. This situation would never have arisen if that same approach had been expressed or taken in February 2013. There's no reason to believe that the county's aquifer is going to be polluted. Now, it is your responsibility as leaders of the county to ensure that whoever operates this landfill does so appropriately. That is absolutely your job, and you shouldn't allow my client or anybody else to not operate a landfill appropriately. We're supposed to be a country that's governed by the rule of law
not governed by kings and tyrants. If I take property from my neighbor, I ought to be held accountable to pay for that property in civil court, or have Sheriff Wendell Hall, when he was sheriff, arrest me and take me to jail. When the county takes property from a property owner, there's only one difference under our rule of law, and that is that you can take property legally if you do so for the public benefit. But if the county takes property for the public benefit, for example, to protect the water supply, which is a public benefit, then the county, the king, has to pay for what it's taken from a private property owner. The county pays with tax money because the taking of the property is for the benefit of the public. If the county takes property without paying for it, then the county is no better than the tyrant, no better than the king that this country kicked out in the 1700s. As the Supreme Court has said, when a regulation or a denial of a permit amounts to a taking of property, a state must choose to pay just compensation or rescind its regulation or grant its permit, and then pay compensation for any temporary taking that has occurred. All the current lawsuit is about today is the payment of compensation for the county's temporary taking of this property, the delay associated with February 2013 to September 2017. And again, just in closing, I don't know that anybody from the press is here. We will not hear these comments in the Pensacola News-Journal, to my knowledge. We'll be left with what was said on Tuesday. We'll be left with the WEAR TV report that used those words, legal terrorism, which I believe to be an oxymoron. I've never thought of terrorism as legal, and extortion. And so, gentlemen, I urge you in the future with other folks up here to choose those type words carefully. They do impact people, and they do leave bad feelings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rigby.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Salter?
Mr. Rigby, I don't want to get into a he said, she said, but you're talking about your client not wanting to destroy the aquifer. Did you read his emails?
My client hasn't sent you an email. I've never sent you an email. I represent Blue Water Holding.
Okay, I'm talking about Center of the Souls.
I have read a lot of the emails, Commissioner, and I will tell you my spin on those, and you may disagree. My spin on that is what Jim Young was saying. And again, I believe what Jim Young was saying is this commission in 2013 said that you would not allow landfills or borrow pits because it would destroy the aquifer. And in other words, that was the commission's position. I don't believe that's the commission's position today.
Right.
But I never heard it expressed until Monday.
Well, here again, I'm not going to get into he says,
Yeah.
she said, but his social media campaign made us look like the bad guys, and that's where I came from. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Mr. Rigby, just a brief comment. I could tell you by memory, I'm not sure who the substantial equity holders are in your client. This board, I thought, showed the utmost professionalism and courtesy that I don't even know was due or required, but we did on Monday. Prior to your comments then, none of us ever actually called Jim Young by name that I know of on Monday. However, and I am definitely not an attorney, and I even stated that I didn't know that environmental terrorism was the best term because I understand that it doesn't fit. I just couldn't think of anything better. But I guess in my mind, I share probably what Commissioner Salter has alluded to, is that, again, I don't know who the partners are for your client, but I've never seen them intervene or implicitly say that they had any problem with Mr. Young's emails or pattern of behavior over that has been a very long campaign of that led to the comments that I made on Monday. And I feel like even you said your client wasn't really, you know, I forgot your exact term, but they weren't real excited about selling to the county, but they were urged to do so by Mr. Young, which tells me, and that goes along with Mr. Young's statements to us, and that tells me that it goes in line with at any time your client could have reached out and said, well, hey, maybe this isn't my stance, or Jim Young doesn't speak for me, but I forgot, you're a lot smarter than me. I don't know if you call that abstentious partnership or whatever, where it appears to the public to be partnerships. And so it appears to me through the behavior that they've been partners, especially even with the offers. I believe they both came in jointly or at the same time. And so that is where the comments came from. It may have not been specifically through your client, but I sure that I know of never saw anything where your client came in to intervene to say, hey, listen, he doesn't speak for me. I mean, even by your own statements earlier, you said that he was urged to present this. So I just want you to know, I think that's where that came from.
Well, just so you know, Jim Young has no interest in Blue Water Holdings, never has had any interest in Blue Water Holdings. He represented a company called owned, that's the best way to put it, KWI Investments. I think it was a limited liability company that sold the property to Blue Water Holdings at that time. There were different owners, members, investors in Blue Water Holdings at that time, including Jeff Clonch.
Does he need Blue Water, though, to start excavating that dirt so that he can get money for it? Is he depending upon Blue Water to start excavating that dirt so that he can receive money for it?
There is a fill removal agreement. It's in the public record, always been there. It was in effect a financing protection arrangement, if you will, created at that time, and I didn't represent anybody back at that point in time. But that fill removal agreement's a contract, and it gives Santa Rosa Soils the right to all except, I think it's roughly 2 million cubic yards of dirt that would be used for fill. They have the right to use that without cost. If they need more fill dirt than that over the life, then they buy it on the open market like anybody else. So there's a contractual arrangement there that Santa Rosa Soils holds. But that's it. And the current, my direct client is Eddie Kennedy, who's out of Coleman, Alabama, has been operating in this area for a number of years. He's not a landfill operator. He's not the only investor. There are 2 or 3 that now own. Mr. Clonch has not been involved in the company well over a year, maybe more than 2 years. I'm not sure the exact date. But there's no direct ties there. Now, it did make sense if the county, first of all, I don't know why the county would ever have considered buying the property if you were going to use it for any other purpose and then allow a hole to be dug in the ground. Okay, so it made sense for something to come to you at the same point in time. Just common sense. And so that's what was done. Now, that gives you a little history. I have not approached this commission. Ethically, and I know your attorney is sitting back here, I am not ethically allowed to approach you, and I've never communicated with any of you. In fact, I don't believe I've ever communicated with the county administrator now or former. And I wouldn't do so without permission of your attorney. I can speak to you in this setting under these circumstances, in my opinion, and I don't believe Mr. Warner disagrees with that. So I would not have communicated with you separately, and I would not have encouraged my client, Eddie Kennedy, to communicate with you by email. I have represented Santa Rosa Soils in the past, as many of you know, in the context of when this first started, because we were seeking his permit, Santa Rosa Soils permit for excavation. I represented him at that point in time. I believe Attorney Eddie Matthews represents Mr. Young and has for years with respect to his other business affairs, and I know he sent a letter, which I've seen, of course, to the county commission. So that's kind of the history as I can best give it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Irby. Thank you for coming, and as always, I know you do a stellar job representing your client. With that, I would ask if there are any further comments from any members of the public or any commissioners. Hearing none, I would be inclined to make a recommendation without objection that we approve the motion as presented by Commissioner Lynchard on Monday for denial of those purchase agreements that were submitted. All right, hearing no objection, that item is approved. We have no items on the Engineers Report, Public Services Committee, Public Works Committee, or the Budget and Financial Management Committee. Therefore, we will move to Public Forum. We have had some extremely patient folks sitting out there in the audience. I'm assuming probably have a word to say. Commissioner Lynchard.
While they're working their way up here, just a reminder that this Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, we have the grand opening of the new Miracle League field at Tiger Point. They have over 100 participants signed up, 12 teams. Because of that, I think they're going to play 6 one-inning games on Saturday to kick the season off. So 8 o'clock Saturday morning, I hope to see a lot of people out there. I think it's going to be a great event. The field looks great. It's very, very, very exciting.
All right, thank you for that reminder. Yes, good morning. Wow,
Good morning,
look at this
Commissioners.
bunch. No, we're glad to see you.
Glad to see you. My name is Megan Norwood, and I'm here with some of my classmates from Leadership 33. Would like to ask you all a very important question that's been on our class's mind. It's an idea. I'm sure as many of you know, I know you have been through leadership, and I believe you are a former class member, and all of you. Okay, great, wonderful. So you guys know what I'm talking about. Our class project, it's something that's very important and prideful to each class, and an idea that's been circulating through our class has been a county flag. As you all know, that we as Santa Rosa do not have a county flag, and as a project, or rather an idea that's been circulating through our class has been to create a county flag, and we would like your input on it.
I just want to say, first off, Megan, I know you emailed me about this a
did.
couple months ago. And I remember when I first saw the email, I got so excited. And I ran into Erica later that day. I think she's in your class as well. And I had mentioned that. And she said, I don't know if we finalized that or whatever. I'll talk with them and get back. So that is the reason I never replied to your email, was I was sort of waiting for the get back. And I wasn't sure if that vote had been officialed or whatever. But
Sure.
this first time I heard it since, I sure am not the attorney or know anything about implementing a county flag, whether it was official or from a promotional level. But I think just the idea of implementing an artistic view of, hey, here's what represents the county, I know I love, and I know this guy right here, Commissioner Cole, Lord, I tell you what about Salter. I was going to call him Salter. They started running together. Anyway, I know he serves on, I believe, the Arts Committee for the National Association of Counties, and we have all mentioned, we've had a campaign, we've added murals and all to the wall, and so I get excited about it. And but I wanted to let you know that's why I didn't reach back out. It surely wasn't that. I was sort of waiting for the comeback around, but that's why I absolutely wanted to bring that up. So I guess I'm going to ask Dan or Roy sort of what the legality terms of this are.
I'll defer the legality to the attorney. I just in a little research, there's about 17 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida that have a recognized and approved county flag. It's not a requirement, but I think Roy can talk to legality. I don't think there's a...
Roy, what kind of process do we have to go through on that?
I don't think that there's a process as such, and I haven't found where the state has preempted us on this. So I think it's however the board wants to approach it.
Yeah. So I would absolutely open it if anybody else had any comments. I love the idea of like I say, it seems like a pride-filled thing. Commissioner Salter?
Mr. Chairman, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Was it last week on a bright early morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, I met y'all down at the Veterans Memorial Park, and they captured me and said, we want to do this. And I said, you got my full support. So you still have my full support today. And by the way, class 4 was the best class. I went through when I was 8 years old.
See, you don't hear the single-digit class numbers much anymore. Class 2 over there. Look at that. We're going way back. That's institutional knowledge that we have. As we get, well, Commissioner Peach, and then I just had a question.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only issue I see with it is I'm gonna have to go buy more flagpoles, because I love flying the American flag, and if we have a county flag, I guarantee you I'd be flying it in front of my house.
I think Dan said he's got plenty of poles out here.
Awesome. And 32?
32.
Last 32?
We might let you all slide today.
Let me ask you this, have y'all worked on at all any sort of conceptuals of what it would look like or ideas? Just
We do know that we will, of course, have our county seal on this flag, but we want input from each of you because you represent each portion of our county. And so we will, of course, represent, especially having NAS Whiting Field, our tourism coming from the beach, our agriculture. We want to represent each aspects of our county in our flag. We have not moved forward with a design yet. We have several diverse members of our class, as I'm sure you all know, that each class represents many aspects from our county. And we have not moved forward with a design. We just wanted to know if it was possible and if you guys would support us doing it.
Yeah, I think it's a resounding yes. And again, I remember I really was so excited when I read about it and was sort of waiting for the comeback around.
Yes.
But you already captured the essence of the main things that I could give you any suggestions on, and that is, of course, the influence of Whiting Field and the Navy, and you mentioned tourism. I mean, every time I go to Navarre Beach, I say, wow, I'm reminded Commissioner Peach and Lyncher get to live down there in arguably the prettiest part of the county. And then, of course, the agriculture. I mean, that is absolutely the staple of Santa Rosa County and the long enduring tradition, especially, nothing says Santa Rosa County more than a field of cotton or peanuts.
Exactly.
And the only other thing that maybe I can mention to you that obviously Santa Rosa County is very pride-filled history of is also our religious, county. I think we're very proud that we have so many churches here. And then again, as we saw earlier, our river system, we are very blessed to have such a network of water bodies. But those are the only ideas I could give you.
Okay.
But I'm excited about it. I think that would be great, and that would be something that not only would you have here, but as you heard Dan, we'll have a new courthouse and we'll have flagpoles there too. So.
Yes.
So, all right, well, anything we could do or our staff could do, just please reach out to our staff, and they'll try to assist you in any way they can, okay?
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for being patient with us and waiting. Do we have anybody else here from the public today that would like to speak during public forum? Always a pleasure to have one of our city councilmen here from the city of Milton. Thank you for coming. All right, without seeing anything,
Chairman.
Commissioner Salter.
Before we adjourn, I have to make a correction that you just made, that Commissioner Peach and Lyncher live in the prettiest part of the county.
Well, I spend far more time in a tree stand in the north end of the county than I do a bathing suit in the south end. But I got to, and you're welcome for that. But I got to tell you, it is, man, every time I get to go to Navarre Beach, I think, wow, what an amazing place. So thank you all. And again, before we adjourn, I just want to say thank you so much for not only the fellow commissioners for your hard work, and I mean that, but also for our staff. Y'all are amazing. And as we see the unfortunate events that are happening in some of our neighboring counties, I can just tell you thank you for your service to what you do. And I mean that. I know every one of us appreciate what you do for our county. So thank you. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.